Welcome, folks. This is my virtual reality video using Google Earth inside of the Oculus Quest 2 virtual reality headset, where I am going to explore an old town that I used to live in called Tekoa, Washington. And this here is the starting point, just on the outside of the outskirts of Tekoa. I think we have a few people that live in this area, maybe even a few that are on Facebook that might recognize where I'm at. So let's get started. I'm just gonna click the buttons here and just move forward as we advance into town here. Where the arrow's at is where I can go. I can't go up any of these other side streets. Most of them are not where the Google vehicle has gone. See that there's no arrow up in there, so I can only go where the arrows are at. And Google Earth, by the way, can be viewed on a regular computer, and the view that I'm in right now is what we call Street View. You may have heard of it if you've used it. Excuse me. And the Street View has certain roads that the actual Google vehicle drove down and filmed those areas. So not every side street is included. But we can switch to a view that allows us to fly above the city, looking down on it. And I will switch to that view eventually as I progress through the exploration here. This side of town of Tekoa, I was never really into this area very much. I would walk over here every now and then to visit one of my old friends. His name is Gary Schote. He used to go by EJ while he lived over here in Tekoa. And usually if I was over on this part of town, that would be about the only reason I came over here, was to visit Gary. Sometimes I helped with the newspaper routes over in this area. But most of my time here in Tekoa was spent over here in the main part of town, in the neighborhoods over in this part. As we enter into town here, this is where we used to have our burn of the dummy whenever we had homecoming. They'd have a big old bonfire down in this area, and then with a football player, dummy of a football player, and then we'd set it on fire and play our school song and listen to the cheerleaders a little bit, and we head back to the school. Oh, there's Dorsey Chevrolet. What I remember about Dorsey Chevrolet is getting Articat stickers all the time. I was able to get those little pink paw stickers, and always had lots of them. I could stick them everywhere. Used them on boxes and that kind of stuff. So this is the main road that drives down through the town of Tekoa. As we approach the town area here, this cafe to the right, I remember it being called G's Cafe when I lived here in Tekoa. I remember getting hamburgers and chocolate milkshakes. Those are the favorite things I always had here. Off over here to the left on the corner was the barber shop. Let's go down this way first. So again, we can only go where the arrows go. We can't go down that road. So here's Dorsey Chevrolet. They always had the snowmobiles in the windows when I'd come by here in the wintertime. There's the grade school. I went to school here from 3rd grade through 6th, and then I went from 7th through 9th up there at the high school. The high school is down further. So the only way we can go from here is down this road. So over here where this big building used to have a couple of trailers here. I remember Bertha Gum, I think it was, that lived there. And then off over in this area was a small laundromat. If you go up this road right here, that takes you up to the high school, but again, the road Google does not let me go up that road, so I have to keep going straight. This corner lot over here used to have a house on it owned by an older couple named Stan and Inez Anderson. My little sister Mary and I used to work for them when we were young kids, mow their yards, and my little sister would house clean. Very nice people. Over here in the corner was one of the Du Bois men. The father, he used to own the IGA store downtown, if I remember correctly. And then off over here to the right was Stacy Schumann's family's home. Stacy was a classmate of mine in Tekoa. Over here to the left is the Height home. Janine Height was another classmate of mine. This is where we used to play kick the can all the time as I was growing up. We'd play kick the can and go hide in the alley and here in the front. We also played wiffle ball right here in the street. Some of us kids would gather together. The Jagers, Richie, maybe Milton Monroy. Trying to remember who all played. There was a small group of us. And then right over here in the White House was where Mrs. Johnston and her family lived at. Mrs. Johnston was my 3rd and 4th grade teacher. She's one of my favorite teachers here in Tekoa. Her son Greg taught me how to play chess. And then next door to Mrs. Johnston was an older couple named, their last name were Spock. Can't remember their first names, but Mr. Spock, he seemed like a grumpy person. A lot of the kids would get on his bad side when we were playing here. He didn't like it when we entered their yard. So he was always scolding us. But they were actually a nice couple. I started mowing their yard for them and got to know them really well. Very nice. Mr. Spock passed away just before I moved away from Tekoa. I can't go down that road. It kind of looks like I can, but I really can't. And down there is where I remember certain families living. I remember the Jagers. They lived over in this area over in here. Down further down on the left. was Ted Lindgren and his family. And if you go on down around the corner down there, you run into the Van Vorises. And let's see, which direction do I go now? I can turn to the left and show you where I used to live at. Let's do that. So down here, just on the left where this white truck is, used to be a house with a dirt basement. And inside of the basement was a furnace that we could use coal or wood to make our fire. And we lived in this house for probably 7 years. I started school here in 3rd grade and I left for Spokane at the end of my 9th grade year, so 7 years. And this is where we got to know a lot of people, became fond of a lot of people. And I miss a lot of people from here. Right up the alley here was where the Haight home was, and then we would go up here in the alley and play kick the can and hide out in the alley or out on the other side of the house over there on the other street. Always fun to hang out with the local neighborhood kids. Another one of my favorite teachers was Mr. Cox. He lived just up the hill here a little ways in a trailer. Mr. Cox was the basketball coach for the high school. I can remember us making it to the state championship. Boy, that was a year to remember. We got all the way to district, and it just kept going our way all along. We didn't have a spotless winning season, but yet the team just kept improving and improving. And every game that we played, we advanced on until we made it all the way into state up at Spokane. And I was so surprised how well we did that year, because I was the manager of the basketball team and I always had faith in how well we played and everything, but there were so many close games that we were always on the edge of our seat. Or a lot of times we were on the edge of our seat, not knowing what way it was going to go. And we always ended up winning until we got to the championship game. And in that championship game, we played Reardon, if I remember right. And we ended up losing to Reardon by 2 points in that championship game. And boy, you talk about a heartbreaking game that was. I don't think any of us ever expected to get to it, but when we did, we were playing the best that we could play and accomplishing things that just we couldn't believe we were accomplishing. And to get that far and to only lose by 2 points, it was just such a hard toll on the team. But we were so proud of everybody. I can remember being so proud. That was one of my happiest years of just being a part of this town. It was a good year. Over in this area was a good friend of my little sister's. Their name was the Weiss family. Lynette was who was my little sister's friend. And down off over in here were some more people that I knew real well. We knew the Hunters. They lived up in there, Annette Hunter and her brother Robert. Their parents, Evelyn, and can't remember the dad's name. And then their older sister and younger sister. Tutleys, I think, lived right here. And then just down around the curve and then up that dirt road over there is Mr. Relic's home. He was the principal at the grade school. And then if you just drive on out around the highway here, you end up in another small community called Farmington, and out in that way were some farmers, and some of those farmers were my friends. I rode my bike out this road many times, going out and visiting people like Sean Fletcher, Jim Thompson. The Rambos lived out there, Ross Rambo. The bowling alley, the golf course is off over there. Okay, let's go back down towards town. Oops, a little bit too far. This is the United Church of Tekoa. Mr. Hayworth was who I remember being the minister or the preacher. And then just on the other side of the church here was an older gentleman. His name was Vernon Sweet. He was always a person I enjoyed running into when he was out and about. Very cheerful person to visit with. This corner home right here, this is where my grandma used to live at. My grandma Bedwell. I think she actually owned this home. And then when she passed away, her daughter inherited it. My dad's sister inherited it and lived there for a little while. And I'm not sure if she ended up selling it, I think. So this is the only way that I can come back around. Back out that way takes us over to the cemetery. My band teacher lives over here, my home ec teacher. The Marshes, Eric and Connie Marsh. Very nice people. Right over in here is where I used to pick up my newspapers when I'd start my newspaper route. And then I would deliver newspapers up and down these streets. The Codd family, very generous people, always contributing to the high school sports programs. And then if we go downtown here, over in here was the Golden Grain Tavern. I remember playing a little bit of pinball inside of it a little bit. And then the Empire Theater. I didn't realize they played movies here, but here we could have seen Wild Hogs. I don't know what year this was, but August 26th. This is where I remember going to see the plays that they did during the 4th of July celebration. And then Inez and Stan Anderson, I mentioned them earlier. Stan, I think, had an insurance agency over here. And then I remember Gene Waitman, I think it was, from the post office. Very nice person. And one of my other favorite people, I miss Bill Wall. Used to have the Wall Agency. I used to work for Bill Wall around his home. He was always giving me some work to do. Always gave me a chance to make a few bucks from him so I could go out and buy my school clothes or whatever I might need. Bill Wall, very nice person. And then right over there in that building, I think, used to be a a small printing company for the Tekoa newspaper. I can't remember what the name of the newspaper was. And then this is a hardware store. I remember, I think it was the Gruenwalds that owned this at the time that I lived here. The Gruenwalds. And then back over on this other side, that's the bowling alley down there. I remember asking about this a few years ago on Facebook, and Trina Cummings answered back saying that it was not being used for anything at the moment, but she talked about it possibly being turned into a grocery store of some sort. I thought that's what she was saying. I can't remember for certain. And then off over here used to be a small grocery store somewhere in here called Kurt's Food City. I used to work for Kurt when he owned it. Always felt strange that he had a basement inside here that was always scary to me. I'd have to go down there and bring up pop or something to stock the shelves, and it just always felt strange going down in that basement. I always felt like somebody was down there watching me. And then next to the pharmacy here, I remember this place being called Hungry's Tavern. My mom worked here. I've got some old photos of her inside of the bar during New Year's one year. It's now called C&D's. And off over on this side where the Tekoa Medical Clinic is. That's where our dentist office, I think, was also. And then down through here, one of these areas here was the Tekoa Variety Store. June and Marion worked there. Marion was who I was mowing. I was mowing her yard when Mount St. Helens erupted. And that was when the Tekoa policeman was driving around town telling people about the eruption, and they probably should go inside. I can remember that. And then this is the Tekoa IGA, owned and operated by the Du Bois men, Bill and I think Marion Du Bois. I did a little bit of work for them. I used to clean their parking lot for them, and I think I did some snow shoveling for them too. So I think that pretty much takes care of the street view. We can't really go in on any other streets that we haven't already been on, but what I can do is I can turn into flying mode here, and we can explore the area a little bit from the air. So we'll do a quick view of that. Okay, so here I am in flying view. Right down there is the grade school. Right here is Dorsey Chevrolet. That's the main entrance into the city of Tekoa. Over there was the train trestle. Down here was G's Cafe that I remember. Okay, so let's see if we can try to go to the places we couldn't go to using the street view. So again, taking this road down here, we could go up to the high school. I back up a little bit here, and that's where I think the McCormicks lived at. When we came to school, again, my home was down in this area. So we would walk up the street, up the hill here, then come down this hill, and then go to the grade school when we went to school here. And then when we went to high school, the same way, except we'd go up this way and go to the high school. There's the swimming pool. That's a lot different looking than what it used to look like when I went to school here, when I lived here. It was just your basic swimming pool with a low dive and high dive, but they've changed the layout of it. And then if I go up further, there's the bus barn for the school. This is where I remember the Lindgren family living, Donnie Lindgren, Kenny Lindgren, the parents. And then somewhere in here was the Flock family, Brent Flock, Lisa Flock. And over in here, or was it over in here, I think? Over in here was the Andersons family, Colleen and Steve Anderson, Nicole Anderson. And then up in here was Bill Wall, the Wall family. I used to do a lot of work for Bill Wall. I always had something to do for him. Very nice person. I miss Bill Wall. And let's see. If you go on out that way, you see the Schutz family. And let's see if we can go out and turn back around. Right here is the Little League field where I played baseball when I was in Little League. Those are the dugouts. Over here was the high school football field. That's the little tower that the announcers would sit in, call out the plays. Looks like another baseball field. And then that's the grade school. This is the back side of the grade school. We used to go sledding here. This little hill here was great for sledding on. We'd take inner tubes here and go sledding down on the inner tubes. If I can get out far enough here and then turn back at look at the football field, I think you can actually almost see the scoreboard. This is a little right line right here. I think that's the scoreboard. It's amazing what Google Earth can pick up. So, and then down here, I remember Smith. I can't remember what the actual name of the business was. I think it was Chris Smith or something like that. I remember him very well as a person. I can't remember his name too well. But I remember him from when I was young. Nice person. And again, there's the grade school. Go back over and do a flyover of the neighborhoods. This is all the downtown area right in here. There used to be an arcade up in here that I used to go to a lot when I was a kid. So when you see the lines forming and stuff like that, that's just me using the hand controllers here to rotate the image a little bit so I can see where I'm looking. So doing a flyover, this is, I think this is the Schumann home right here. The Height home. And then down here was where we used to live at. And then Mr. Cox and his family lived up in this area. And in this home here, that I remember that home as being, I'm going to turn around here and look at it again. This home here, I remember this being the Beecroft home. I think it's now a bed and breakfast home, if I remember right. We can go do a flyover to where the cemetery was at. If you take this highway out here, you go to go to Oaksdale. And then going out this road here, Mr. and Mrs. Marsh lived over in this area. And then driving out here to that group of trees out there, that's the cemetery. And that's where my grandma passed away, or is buried at. And she passed away. She's the only family member that we have over there in Tekoa. So I think that's pretty much it, folks. I just wanted to do this video. I think this Google Earth is an amazing app to use. I can go anywhere in the world with it. Looking around. One other place I wanted to point out that I didn't do earlier was the Fuchs home. I think the Fuchses lived out over there. That's where the Fuchses lived at. Tekoa Mountain. A lot of hang gliding from around here. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If I can find something else to share, I will. If you have any requests, let me know. I'll go take a look at it for you. Thank you.